Hello OOTP. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do mass imports of players into your game. So I'm going to take you to where you can see the format on how to import players into the game. So you want to click on MLB, go to transactions, and we'll be doing everything in free agents. So for right now, since I don't want to use any of these guys right here, we are going to go to actions and just delete all free agents and clear that. So I'm still going to use the players that are on teams, but I'm going to get rid of all those free agents there. And then we will import the historical players I'm going to bring in. And my idea is to import Hall of Fame players and the best years of their career. So, like for Babe Ruth, it might be 1927. And then I'll look at like Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. We'll look at Willie Mays, since he did just pass away a few days ago. So I want to definitely focus on having Willie Mays in this video, since he was a groundbreaking player and just an all-around amazing player. So to start your import, you're going to go underneath actions and you want to click on this import historical players. And we will be using the historical database. And that's going to bring up this box right here. Now we are going to use this feature right here, which is the mass import of players. So what we need to find is the ID, the year of the player, and the destination team. Now the destination team is optional. So you do not have to have a destination team behind the year. Since I'm going to release everybody into an inaugural draft, so I don't have to worry about, placing people on different teams. Let's flip over, and I just have a notepad open. So I'm just going to start off with Babe Ruth. So Ruth, last name, first two letters, 01, since he's the first and only Babe Ruth. I am going to use 1927. So this will be the start of our file. Now I will show you how you can get this ID, and then to get the year that they had their best year, you just have to look at their stats. But you just want to kind of guess on which year you think was their best year. So let's flip over to baseball reference. And once again, they're having a tribute to Willie Mays, who just passed away a few days ago. So let's get into trying to figure out the best years. And let's start with Willie Mays. So we will type in the first part of his name. It'll autofill for you. And we will scroll down to his stats. And you will see he had a lot of years where he was a great player. Now, by looking at stats, I might pick 1958. Or you might want to go with 1965. You have a lot of seasons to choose from. But let's go with 1965. That's who we're going to pick for Willie Mays. Now, one thing I will do once I get these players in is I'll adjust their age. Since I'm going to make it to where I'm playing with all these guys, I'm probably going to set them all to like 23 years old. Just so I have more seasons to play with all these players in this league I'm creating. So we will use 1965 Willie Mays. And to find his ID, it is going to be up here. So it's going to be Mays WI01. So you can just go up here and highlight that and copy it. And then we will go back over to our notepad. Paste that in. 1965 and ATL. So now we have Willie Mays in. So what if we want to figure out who all the Hall of Famers are? I did a search of Hall of Famers and there's a Wikipedia. I just typed in all HOF players in MLB. And of course, there's a wiki page with all the players throughout history in here. So we can get Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Nap Lajoie, Cy Young, Gap Anson, Lou Gehrig, and just play with all these players. So I will do a few of these players just to show how it's done. And we'll just kind of keep going back and forth from Baseball Reference and this screen and then my notepad. And we'll do like 10 players just to show you what it's going to look like. Then I'll cut away, fill up my list, and pick up the video once I have a list filled, and then we'll go from there. So I went with Ty Cobb so far. And now let's go figure out what year we want him to play from. And once again, I got his ID from the URL. It's COBBTY01. So we also see Ty Cobb had amazing seasons with his batting average. We could pick anywhere from 1911 to 1917. I might want to go with 1911. I'm going to feel like that's going to be his best hitting years. And of course, he was not a power hitter. It was a little bit before home runs really became a mainstay, which happened in the early 20s. So, yes, we are going to go with 1911 for Ty Cobb. So 1911 ATL. Let's head back to list of Hall of Famers. We'll go with Walter Johnson next. We'll get some of these pitchers in. We'll get, a few of each position. So we'll go with Walter Johnson next. One of the most premier power pitchers of his time. And I'm probably going to go with one of the years he had a lot of strikeouts. So I might go with 1912 or 1913. Both years he had really good seasons. Both of them have really good ERAs. He had a few more innings pitched in 1912 over 1913. But let's take Walter Johnson from 1913. So his is JOHNS WA01. And that is the main format of the IDs. It's the first 5 letters of the last name, first 2 of the first name, and then 01. Now, if there's a Walter Johnson that played in 1950, he would be Johnson WA02. But as far as I know, this is the only Walter Johnson so far that has played in the MLB. So we'll type that in. And I believe we said 1913. And we'll throw him on Atlanta as well. So just to make sure, double check that I did. And I did say 1913. All right, now we have Walter Johnson done. So let's go pick another player. We will go with Christy Mathewson. So just back up to the top here. So now we will type in Christy. And we find him. Now we just have to scroll down, find out what his best year was. And 1908 sticks out to me the most. He has a good amount of strikeouts, good FIP. So let's get his ID. We'll copy that. We'll paste. And 1908, Atlanta. All right. So let's move back and look at the list of Hall of Fame players. We already have Babe Ruth, but let's get Honus Wagner in. Very well-known player. A little history that a lot of people that are my age, which is mid-40s, early 40s. We first learned about Honus Wagner when somebody found a baseball card of his. And it was big news. It was one of the oldest baseball cards that were known of at the time. So that for me is how I learned about Honus Wagner. Was somebody found a baseball card of his, and I thought that was really cool. So let's go search for Honus Wagner. And let's look at the years he played here. Now let's go look at the years he played. So he had a good year in 1909. So he had a good year in 1900. 1 year before the MLB was established and the NL and AL came together to make one major league. That is by far his best batting average. Now, I might argue 1908 is a very good year for him. And I think 1908 is what I'm going to go with. I just like the number of hits, doubles, triples. So we will go with 1908 Honus Wagner. So go up and get his ID. So we now have Honus Wagner in. So let's get back over to the list of Hall of Fame members. So Nap Lajoie will be our next player we choose. Go over and type in Nap. He should pop up. And we will look at his stats. And I'm just going to go with his 1901 stats. Having 14 home runs in 1901 is pretty insane. So we will go with his 1901. Let's get his ID. Back to the notepad. 1901. All right. Back to our Hall of Fame page. And now we're going to go with Tris Speaker. Let's go back over to Baseball Reference, type in Tris. And let's look at his seasons. He has quite a few good seasons. You really can't go wrong with any of these seasons. I might go with the 1916 just because it is one of his best hitting seasons. You could go down to 1920. Let's just take 1923 for Tris Speaker. So let's get his ID. Alright, so that should be good enough showing you how to find the IDs, how to choose what years to pick for your player, and then I will show you quick how to find the abbreviations of teams in the game. If you want players to go to free agency, do not set a team. So if you go under team settings, this is where you will find the abbreviations for your teams. MIN is going to be my historical team ID. Now, when the Twins were Washington, I believe that's going to be WAS1. We can go to Washington now, and their historical franchise ID is WSN. And I believe it is the historical franchise ID you need to have at the end for your team. And if I am right with Atlanta, it is ATL, so these players will go to the Atlanta Braves. And this will be different in whatever year you do create your league. So if you create your league in 1970, make sure you check the historical franchise ID so you know exactly what team you want to put your players on to import them. Because, say I'm looking at the Milwaukee Braves, they weren't Atlanta yet. Their historical ID is going to be different for the Milwaukee Braves. So just make sure you check for a correct historical franchise ID before you start making your list and then going, oops, I need to change all those abbreviations after the back of all players. Which isn't a horrible thing since, you have find and replace. But, it's sometimes better just to do it once and not having to do it over. So from here I will cut away, and when I come back I'll have a big list that we will import into OOTP. Alright, and we are back with our list. You will notice I did change the list a little bit. I took the ATL off for Atlanta. The team is apparently optional. So if you want your players to go directly into free agents, do not put the comma team after the year, and they will become free agents. And now we will take this wonderful list. I have saved it for myself. I will do another save. And I have a little over 100 players, ranging from current to the 90s, the 80s, all the way back to the 1800s. So, we will go over to 25. And we will go to Actions, Import Historical Players. And now I'm going to use this section right here. And this is where I read this. It says, IE Ruth BA01, 1927, ATL. And then behind it, it says the team is optional. So you do not need to put a team on if you want your players to go directly into free agency. So I will click on here to select file, and I will scroll down until I see my historical import of HOF players. And I will click OK. The only thing I have to do after that is click Import Players. And we will let that do its thing. Alright, it has done its job. The historical player import succeeded. 109 players imported. So, these are all the players that I have imported. Now, some of these players will get better when I set their ages to be the 23-year-olds I might set them to. It's a possibility I might set them to 21 just to get more out of them, but I haven't really decided on that yet. So, if you have any questions on what I just put together with using baseball reference to get the ID, making up the text file by using the ID from baseball reference, choosing what year I believe is the best year of the player, and then making the file, go ahead and ask it below. That's what the comment section's for, is to ask questions, or if I missed something, if I missed some step, please comment below to let me know what I could have done better. Also, please make sure to check out my other videos, as I have done many on the new dev sliders and the dev lab, on installing mods, and a few other videos of OOTP. I also stream on Twitch. You can find me there at twitch.tv/twins_34. Also, please make sure to like and share my videos, as that does help me get more viewership to help others with these steps. So, thank you for watching my video, and have a wonderful day.